Hi, everybody. I'm here today with Kathy Harbuck Cox, who is a former WBDI president, and we're going to ask her some questions today and learn a little bit about her history and her history with WBDI. Um, Welcome, Kathy. Um, what were the years you served as president of WBDI?
I was president in 2004 to 2006.
And what has it been like for you to be a woman band director during your career?
I really had some great role models throughout my career. I was fortunate to have two women band directors in my early years. My second year of band in sixth grade, I had Patrice Mullis, and then in junior high, I had Pat Carr. And both of them were very well respected in our state and very successful women. And so from that very beginning, I just knew if I decided I wanted to be a band director, I could be because they were. And I was also a trumpet player. And it was a time when there were not a lot of girls in my band that played trumpet. So that was another area where I was doing something that, the girls played flute and clarinet, not trumpet, but I was a rebel and I played trumpet. Uh, Then when I graduated from high school in 1978 and went to Troy State University, there were a lot more girls in the trumpet section, and there were a lot of us that were studying music education to become band directors. So, I had a big group of people that we were all working together. And Dr. Long was wonderful. He was such a promoter of women and in teaching and as a band director. So he encouraged us all along. And he also made sure that we met highly successful women band directors while we were at school. In fact, I actually met Gladys Wright while I was a student at Troy because she was on our campus a couple of times during that time period. I think one of the times I believe was when the National Band Association Hall of Fame opened because it's on the campus of Troy. And so that was during my time as a student. And we also met, there was an outstanding woman director in South Alabama named Blanche Simmons, and I got to watch her work her band when she was on campus for a performance. So, he gave us these wonderful opportunities to meet women who were successful in the field. Then my first job out of college was at Calvary Day School in Savannah, Georgia. I followed a woman band director. So it was not odd for the students that I was a woman band director. Uh, and then when I came to Ware County a couple of years later, again, I followed a woman. So I had women who had already paved the way for me. Yeah, it was great. In fact, the one that was at Ware County, she called me and said, "Hey, I'm leaving Ware County if you want to come apply for the job." She was moving, was Regine Kimmel. We had gone to college together. She was a couple of years ahead of me in school. And so I came down, I interviewed, I got the position of assistant band director, and my main teaching job in Ware County was at the middle school. The early years, I did go to the elementary schools as well, because that we started our theater programs there. And then when it became a middle school, I was based at the middle school. But as assistant band director for Ware County Schools, I also worked with the high school, mainly with marching band, but I did some work with the concert bands. And then later in my career, I became associate band director, still working at the middle school mainly, but having responsibilities at the high school. I stayed at Ware County for 29 years until I retired. So you see, I really I didn't have to pave my way because there had been women before me everywhere that I happened to go. Um, but I think that the strong women that I had, especially in the early years, they became they were my mentors, and they gave me that positive outlook that I mean I never knew that until I heard some of the stories of women who really had a hard time in the profession, that I never knew that, you know, women band directors were a rarity ever. Um, so I think that that helped me to become confident in my career and successful and to be respected as a band director.
It's
So,
amazing you had that kind of support system.
oh yeah, yeah.
Very fortunate.
And now I realize that it wasn't the norm necessarily. I know so many who didn't have that kind of support system.
So, what ended up becoming the impetus for you to become the president of WBDI?
Uh, Can I kind of tell you my story with WBDI?
Yeah.
Okay. I student taught with Debbie Bradley, and I had known her during college years. She graduated before I got to Troy, but through our Tau Beta Sigma connections, she came back and worked a lot with our Tau Beta Sigma chapter. And so I knew her, and then I got to student teach with her. And she was a member of, then it was Women Band Directors National Association. So after I graduated from Troy, Debbie encouraged me to join Women Band Directors National Association. So I'd met Gladys, so I knew what the organization was. And so along with joining GMEA and NBA, I just wrote out my check and joined WBDNA as well. So in the summer of 1993, Debbie called me one afternoon. It was early summer. She called me one afternoon and said that I needed to pack a suitcase. We were going to be gone about 4 or 5 days. We were going, she'd be by the next day to pick me up, and we were going to Gatlinburg, Tennessee for the WBDNA summer conference. And so I did. I packed my suitcase. Debbie came by, picked me up. We hit the road. We went by and picked up Beth Taylor and Jessup, and off we went to the summer conference. And I'm so glad I went because I met so many amazing women at that conference. And uh, that really was when I became actively involved with the organization. I'd been a member several years and just not gone to the meetings. So uh, I met so many people from all over at that meeting, and I got involved. And so a year or so after that, I started going to Midwest clinics and going to the meetings there. And in 1995, Gladys came down for the South Georgia tour, where she visited Debbie's school, Beth's school, and then one of my former students that was a band director, Wendy Barnhill. And then she came to my school as well. And at my school, she actually guest conducted on the spring concert, handed out the All-Star Honor Band certificates. And we were going to have a district-wide party for her while she was here. So she stayed with me for a couple of days before she flew back to Indiana. And she she asks a lot of questions. She gets to know you and find out what you're all about. And she knew about my I was district treasurer for GMEA, so she knew about that work. And she just at one point said, would you consider being an officer in WBDNA? And I thought for a minute, and you don't tell Gladys no.
I
And
don't think so.
I said, I think I would like to do that. So a little bit later in the fall or early school year, Catherine Hurd, the immediate past president, called me and said, would you accept the nomination for secretary? And I did. So I served 2 terms as secretary, 96 through 2000. And then 2000 through 2002, I was vice president. And during those years, those 6 years, I had the opportunity to really get to know the members of the executive board a lot better. And we worked very closely on a lot of projects. Attending the clinics and things at Midwest and the WBDNA activities was wonderful, but I'll tell you, it was the summer conferences where we really connected and formed relationships. Uh, and these ladies became mentors, colleagues, friends. And then I co-hosted the summer conference in 1997 with Debbie Bradley, and that was at St. Simon's, and worked very closely at that time with Judy Grimes, who was president. And it was actually during the St. Simon's meeting that an official proposal was made to change our name from Women Band Directors National Association to Women Band Directors International. And so I was there on the, during all of the changes. And with just the change of the name, it meant that there needed to be a lot of changes to the Constitution. And so, and our bylaws, and, just the mission of the organization. So I actually served on the committee with past President Jackie Hunt and President-elect Sue Crescent to make those changes and to present them to the organization for a vote. So that
That's
was,
so exciting.
oh yeah, yeah, it was amazing. But during the process of all that, I learned so much history. Jackie was amazing with explaining why the Constitution had the and bylaws, why it was set up like it was, and how the organization formed. And so it was an amazing process. And then um, when the organization asked me if I would accept the nomination as president-elect with that 6-year commitment, I thought, well, I've been an officer for 6 years and that kind of flew by. I think I know about the organization. Sure, I'll take that, because it's a 6-year commitment. You're president-elect for 2, president, and then immediate past president, and there are responsibilities with each of those offices. But yeah, that's how I ended up deciding to run or to be president of the organization.
I'm so glad you included the part about the changeover to WBDI and about Jackie. It's great to hear those things and how the connections are so important. Um,
Right.
what was it like for you when you were serving as president? Do you have any certain accomplishments or challenges or special memories you'd like to share?
Oh, sure. I have very fond memories from my time as president. I have fond memories of all of my times with WBDI, to be truthful. But I worked with such an amazing group of women on the executive board. I mean, we really had a great group. Um, so I just would like to name them because they are so important. Of course, all of the past presidents were still very active with the organization at that time. My president-elect was Debbie Bradley. The vice president was Fran Shelton. Recording secretary was Elizabeth Taylor, and treasurer was Carol Nenza. And at that time, Gladys was still our executive secretary. And historian was Jackie Hunt. It was a great team. Immediate past president was Patricia Backus. And each one of these ladies was an integral part of our leadership team. We worked together. Um, it just was really great to work with them. We worked really hard to streamline the job descriptions of the officers and the chairpersons. And that way, each one kept a timeline of everything they did. They had a notebook they could write that down in, so that when we changed offices, you could hand the next person and say, here's what I did and when I did it. And it had the Constitution and bylaws in it, and it had the things that were expected to be done explained out a little bit more in detail than what's in the Constitution. So we worked really hard. That was our huge project then. Um, if I had a challenge, I would say that it came in 2004 after I'd been president for just a few months. Um, Linda Morehouse decided to resign as the editor for um, the Woman Conductor because she had some new responsibilities with NBA. And so, just being new as president, as of the June issue was her last issue. So I became editor of the Woman Conductor early in my presidency term. So that was a little challenging because I had yet something new to learn how to do. But it turned into a fun challenge, a good challenge. And let me think what it was also at the 2004 summer conference, which was my first summer conference as president, that we began the process of forming the WBDI Foundation. And Patricia Backus, Sue Cressup, and I worked during that conference to set up a constitution and bylaws and get the paperwork rolling to try to get the foundation started. Highlights of my term, I would say, would be both of the conferences. One was in Chattanooga, and then the second one in Austin, Texas. And the Midwest luncheons were just, I enjoyed those. And we had composers to speak with us those years. The first year we had Eric Whitaker, and the second year Sam Hazo. And I also had the honor of presenting the International Golden Rose to Paula Kreider during one of those meetings.
Oh, wow.
So yeah, so it just, those are all very special memories to me.
The amount of things you got done during your term is just amazing, Kathy. And to hear all this history, I literally have goosebumps right now.
Oh, wow.
What words of wisdom would you like to share with women band directors who are just getting started in their careers?
I would say encourage your students to be the very best they can be, and then lead by example. Express your expectations clearly and be firm and fair. Don't be afraid to ask for help, though. You have a tremendous network of resources and advice available to you in the WBDI membership. And it's been my experience that we love helping if we can. We support one another completely. It's been the best organization I've been a part of.
That's exactly what Robin said too. It's great to hear that. Is there anything else you'd like to include or say to potential members or to the existing members?
I would say when you join this organization, become actively involved. And I've been seeing that in through the years. And as people get more involved and you make those personal connections with people, we've got folks at all levels of teaching and community bands as well. And take advantage of the personal connections. The networking within the organization is just unbelievable.
Awesome. Well, Kathy, I'd like to thank you for answering some of our questions and sharing today. It really means a lot, and it's an honor and a privilege. So thank you very much.
Well, thank you for asking.
Okay, I'm going to stop the recording.